Hello, in this video we'll be covering the differences between the setup of STX Desktop and the setup of STX Cloud. So in the setup, in STX Desktop, you click here and there's a general option. So we'll go through each of these tabs. So in STX Cloud, you're going to go to this menu bar on the left and click Setup, and then you can click Setup again, and it will take you to this wheel, or you could have clicked Setup and selected any of these items down here. They're all the same, they're just laid out a little differently. So let's go over where you're going to find these things in the new software. So within the company setup, things are in a few different places. Primarily, you will find this under Setup Company and then Setup Company Info right in here. So that is going to be the majority of it. Your booking intervals will be under Setup, Setup Appointments and Emails, Booking Interval. And last but not least, your taxes will be under Setup and Setup Ticket Preferences. You have an option for service tax and retail tax. One of the differences here is that you are not able to rename your tax, and we only have one tax for service and one tax for retail. All right. In the departments, we no longer have departments in STX Cloud. For gift templates, you're going to go to Setup, Appointments and Emails, Gifts Online, and this is where you can set up your gift template. There is only one gift template setup option. Postal codes no longer are a part of your setup in STX Cloud. Within the hours, we no longer set hours for the company. We only note the days off. The software just assumes if there's workers there that you're open. So to find your company hours, you go to Setup Company, Company Days Off, and you can put in durations of dates like an entire week or a weekend and make note of why you're off. The cash drawer is set up under Setup, and then Setup Ticket Preferences, POS Devices, and your cash drawer is assigned here. Also, what's nice about the STX Cloud software is the cash drawer is assigned to the device during cash counting. So if you go to checkout, go to checkout list. You can also get there by clicking on this, this menu bar and then clicking checkout list, and that will take you to the same screen. And when you go to cash counting, when you open your drawer, so when I generate, and let's say I click open drawer, it's automatically going to assume that the drawer I just counted is the drawer in use for this device. So it can be because your computers are not stationary like your desktop software, you have to tell it which cash drawer is assigned to this computer. Okay. The merchant setup, we highly recommend that you do this with our support staff because it is very specific, but it is under setup, Setup Ticket Preferences, and merchant account information goes right here. Okay, and then also for the online setup, all of these selections here, with the exception of a deposit, are under Setup, Setup Appointments and Emails, and Online Booking. So you'll find the option to show or hide your online booking site. If you hide it, it will just say online booking is currently not available, or it'll just show your logo. And if you want to offer online gifts, you would need this enabled. So you can decide whether or not to show or hide the online gifts. Then we've got options for allowing new clients to book online. This is going to be your online booking link here to use. You can select your background color or choose an image for your online booking site. You determine your booking window. So very similar to allow required notice. This is your booking window starts and ends. It's the same as these two options here. And then if you want to receive notifications when somebody books online, this is where you put in the email. And you can actually put in multiple emails. So if I wanted to put in 2, I can put that in here. Okay, and then down here you can choose whether or not to show the price and the duration. And a new feature we have available is requiring a card on file to book online. That's here. We have moved this setting for all all appointments over a certain dollar amount require a deposit. That is going to be unique to each setup. So you're going to go to Setup, Setup Service, Setup Services, select the service, and then down below, you'll see an option if a deposit's required. So this is now specific to the service, and then you can do an amount or percent of the service. All right, let's keep going. All right, so next in setup is your finance. So we no longer have accounts set up within STX Cloud software. All these things are just defaults in the system. Payment types, you can find those by going to Setup, Setup Company, Payment Types. All those same options apply. Calculations, we no longer have this as an ability to control your own calculations. That's all preset within the STX Cloud. And then payroll methods has a new location. It's under Setup Workers. So you can find these payroll methods under Setup, Setup Workers, Setup Compensation Methods, and you do that right in here. If you need to use a scale, you actually set that up here. It's still under Setup Workers, and then Setup Compensation Methods happens here. Okay, next up on setup is the marketing. So client flags, this is going to be a combination of two areas. So in the STX Cloud for client flags, I'm going to go to Setup, Setup Client Preferences, and the client flags. So within here, I'm going to set what those flags are, or you're able to edit the ones you have today. Okay, and then visit types, those are going to be adjacent to that. So Visit Types tab is right next to that one under Setup, Setup Client Preferences. The occupations is also going to be right here under Setup Client Preferences. There's your options. And you can, of course, add more. Your promotions are going and rewards are going to be under Marketing. So on the right-hand side here, see how I'm clicking Marketing? You have an option to set up promotions where you set these up here. And you can also set up rewards. You just click the marketing on the right-hand side, or you can use the menu bar and go to marketing. And you click set up rewards, and you're able to set up the rewards here. There is a difference between the STX Desktop and Cloud rewards. Rewards in STX Cloud does not offer things like days of the week, rebooking, and a couple other features. It's basically just service, products, and gifts. Alrighty. And then next up, I'm going to go to Setup Products. This is all very similar. So to get to our setup for products, I'm going to go to Setup and Setup Inventory. So in STX Cloud, we call it Inventory, and then the products are what you set up within Inventory. So the groups are going to be your Setup Inventory groups. The manufacturers are no longer in STX Cloud, but the product lines are within manufacturers. So you would go to Setup Inventory and Setup Product Lines. The suppliers is also under Setup Inventory, Setup Suppliers. And then products is going to be Setup Inventory, Setup Products. Packages, we no longer do product packages in STX Cloud. And your mass update is going to be very similar to clicking this inventory button on the right-hand side and clicking Manage Inventory. And this is where you go to be able to make mass updates. Just don't forget to hit save at the end. All right, next up, services. So these are also going to be very similar, just like setup products. So I'm going to go to my setup and setup services. And let me just go side by side. So setup service groups, setup services, setup service groups. My note palettes are no longer a part of the STX Cloud. There is only text notes available. We just, again, this part isn't available either. It's just a plain text field. Your resources are going to be under setup, setup service, setup resources. Your services will be under setup setup service, setup services. One of the differences is you used to set up the intervals of what was available. You would check the boxes for what was it. So let me give you an example here. So in STX desktop, you would put 30 minutes to apply the color meant you needed to be blocked off, and 30 minutes to process was blocked or open like this. And then 30 minutes to continue was like that. So you use the checkboxes to indicate that you were blocked off at that time, not available. It's the opposite in STX Cloud. So how we have this set up is when you're doing this, you would do 30 minutes and you'd leave this alone, and then 30 minutes to mark that available, and then 30 minutes to process. So that is going to be a little different. Just keep that in mind. Packages is also under setup, setup service, setup service packages. Series is now also packages. So when you're setting up your service packages in STX Cloud, you're able to create repetitions. So if I say, let's say your package gets you 4 blow dries, that would be a series. So I can set that up as a series, or I can say it's a blow dry and a lip treatment and a glaze. And each of these is just one repetition, kind of like a spa day. So you can make your reps 1. So we have the same setup for these. They just get entered in the same location instead of something for package and something for series. And then for the sequence, we no longer offer the option for a sequence. How this will work is when you go to schedule an appointment, it will be listed first by service group, like treatments or color, and then it will list the results alphabetically by default. Okay, what is next? So setup employee. So this is going to be a big one. And to find that, you would go to setup workers, worker details, and this is going to be where the majority of the worker setup is. So the contact information is going to be the worker profile right here. The hours is going to be the hours tab right here. The difference between the hours is we don't have the 2 sets. So in here, you just have a start time and an end time. And we no longer have, so let me click on one of these. So there's not 2 fields to type in a start time and a stop time. There will be another video on how to accommodate for this. So please watch that. And then you also have this option to do regular or alternative. We'll be making another video separately for this, but for example, if you wanted to say somebody worked every other Sunday, you could leave it days off, and you could put in for the next year, they're going to have every other Sunday off, so every 2 weeks. This is similar to how a calendar would be set up, and you just click add, and then it will note it down here, and then the system will block them off every other Sunday. Okay, payroll. You would assign payroll in the other tab under compensation method is where you would assign that. Pictures, you would upload the worker picture under the profile tab and the upload photo. The profile, we no longer have exactly this, but there is a worker notes field down here. Security is under setup, then setup workers, setup permissions. So you'll create a permission set and you'll call it something, and then under setup workers, worker detail, and the other tab, under security permission, you'll assign one of those permission sets. Another thing to keep in mind is in the STX desktop software, we had options to say you can edit this, delete this, cancel this. Whereas with the STX Cloud, it's more page oriented because it's a cloud software. A lot of those things we're just evolving into because it's harder to lock down specific areas. But additionally to this security setting, it's important to note that outside of your security permissions, there are 4 options down here. These are going to be in the Setup Worker Details Other tab. And you'll see it has View Only My Appointments, which is an option, View Only My Billboard Goals, Hide Client Contact Info, and Hide Appointment Book Values. So these are some additional permission settings that are going to be a part of the worker setup. Okay, and then which services they offer, that is completed here. So you're going to use these little toggle buttons to expand them or contract them. And then you can select which services they perform. If there's a couple that they don't, you just uncheck them. And then you also select which ones they perform online, and you can remove them this way as well. The select all buttons will turn all of these on and off. And then if there's custom, so in here you had the custom checkbox, and then it would open this area up to make it customized. How you're going to do that in this software is go ahead and click edit, and then you can customize the price, the durations, the available setting, service fees, etc. And it will show you the defaults over here to the right. Also important to note, if you want to check your services that you've set up, you can go to Reports, Setup Reports, and Reports, Setup Reports, Worker Service Report, and you can select a specific service provider and see which services they offer. Any customizations will be noted. If this is a custom time, it will show this checkbox, and you can just verify all your information is correct right on there. And then for goals, so the goals are set up quite differently in our STX Cloud. We have billboard goals that look similar to what you're familiar with, but they're under Setup, Setup Workers, and Setup Billboard Goals. So in here you have things like service sales, rebook, average ticket, retail to service, and so on. So if you, let's say, click on rebook, you can say, okay, my goal for everybody is 50%, and click apply to all, and now everybody's goal for rebooking is 50%. What's new in STX Cloud is you can actually set a goal for the company, not just the workers, and that will average out the entire companies. And then for service sales, let's say everybody's a little different. You can put in here like hers is 2,000, but hers is 5,000, and you can plug those in, and then they would see those billboard goals over here under billboard goals. Okay. All right, so let's see what's next. The password. So the password is set up in the worker details. So under Setup, Setup Workers, Worker Details, and the Profile tab, it has the password. And then once you type in a password, it'll ask you to duplicate that. And then just hit save. You can control the passwords for each worker and for the owner that way. And then last but not least, the device. So STX Cloud does not have a pairing option. If you have a login, you can use that login on the App Store. We have iPhone and iPhone and Android apps that you can download, and your login is the same as it is for your STX Cloud login. And those logins are set up under the Setup Worker Detail. So Setup Workers, Worker Details. And their login is right here, username and password. It'll ask you to retype the password and click save. And then that will allow them to log in from the app. If you do have somebody that you don't want them to log in anymore, we would recommend you change their password. You could mark them inactive the termination date won't do it enough. We would really just recommend changing the password. because you'll want to leave the worker active so that we can still see their appointments on the appointment book and go from there. All right, well, thank you so much for listening and have a great day.